Hey, welcome to the Bag Chatter Podcast. My name is Brian, and I'm going to be joined by Adam in a second. In fact, let's jump right in. We find ourselves in a position again where there's a round of golf that you played that I know nothing about. A few days ago, you played in week 3 of Gap on a very rainy Sunday. But before we get to that round, I got to ask you, 2 days ago on Monday was the U.S. Open qualifier that you withdrew from. And I'm curious, as the day went on, were you happy that you withdrew, or did you regret it and wish that you had actually played?
Well, I was happy on Monday, but not for the reason you might think, because I didn't tell you. I went to withdraw, and the refund wasn't available, and I said, screw it, Brian, we're playing this thing.
Okay.
And so on Monday, I went to Union League Liberty Hill and I played my US Open qualifier.
You know, I kind of in the back of my head wondered if that was the case, because you kind of went dark on me on Monday. And I was thinking, like, at some point, is he going to like send me a message from his couch being like, man, glad I'm not playing, or kind of wish I was playing. And the message never came. And okay. Wow.
So I made a snap decision, and I had given up all hope of it going well. And so I was just like, you know what? What have I got to lose now? Let's play.
Okay. So let's put the Gap match on the back burner. And I need to hear, are you prepared to talk about this? How this went?
There's no time better than the present.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Here we go. And you had played a practice round here?
I had played a practice round. This course is a monster. Just an absolute monster. It's 7,600 yards, rating of 75.8, slope of 142.
Sheesh.
And so just nothing. And it's like, it's just this, the fairways are pretty big, but if you are missing fairways, you are done. I mean, just it's over. You're going to lose balls. And so I was in a place where I was hitting a lot of shanks, and you once again got on the horn with Jason Nickel. You called him on my behalf. He texted me on Friday, I believe, and he said, let's get some of this figured out. I went to a range that afternoon. He texted me at like noon. I was at a range at 2, and we were doing a live lesson.
Wow.
And so what happened at that point was, through the lesson, like, he's doing all these drills, trying to get me, on the toe. The big thing he told me was that I have too much flexion in my knees. So we did a bunch of drills, and I kind of got what he was saying, getting me opening up my hips more, swinging more from the inside, obviously not letting, all this stuff. And I went to the live lesson. So while I was waiting for him, I was there for 5 minutes before he FaceTimed me. I shanked 9 balls in a row. I hit 9 balls. I shanked all of them. He had me swing a couple, shanked them, shank. So I sort of am applying all the things he's teaching me. He's with me for maybe 45 minutes, and then I have, 50 balls left. And so once we hang up, I start hitting balls, stripe show. Just not only am I just hitting them well and not shanking them, immediately everything is clicking in, and I'm like moving the ball left and right. I'm just sort of doing everything I want to do. I go to the range Saturday, same thing. Just everything is perfect.
You sent me a video message Friday evening after that session with Nickel. I'll play just a little clip of it here.
I am pulling out of the range after live lesson with Jason. Holy cow. My whole outlook on the world has changed. So it was kind of funny because we did a lot of little drills. I started hitting some better while he was there. Then he left after probably 45 minutes, very generous with his time. And he gave me a couple specific things to think about. Then they were all the things we had talked about, obviously. And I then hit 70, 80, 90 balls after he left, and stripe show. I mean, unbelievable difference. It's crazy. Not only did I not shank a ball, I got there, I want to be very clear, got there, shanked the first 8. The biggest things, there's a bunch of things, obviously. The biggest thing is he said I had way too much knee flexion. He gave me a picture that was like, this is where you've gotten to because I've told you to do less. And he's like, that's the most I could want you out. That's less for you. But he said, what you need is to bend from the hip and basically release the knee. So it's not locked. That's it. That's all the flexion. And I've been bending my knees, if I'm being honest with you. And that all by itself was a world of difference. Then him talking about, opening up that back hip and then getting my hands inside, and just instantly, by the end, I was not only not guiding the ball like I have been, I was just flushing it. I mean, it was ridiculous. So I don't want to get too high off one range session, but it was really good. It was really, really good. Don't know if will it transfer to the course immediately. Who knows? But wow, really excites me to work with Jason more because, man, it's not that I'm skeptical of teachers. I just haven't done it. And every time I've gone, even briefly, I've felt like there was a quick to change my whole swing thing. And I didn't feel like he's doing that. I feel like we're making adjustments. We're emphasizing certain things, but yeah, I'm pumped. Can't wait to see the results. So I then immediately, I had decided Friday before the lesson that I was going to play because I had tried that morning to withdraw, and the money didn't really make a difference. But at the same time, I'm like, am I really going to just donate $200 to the USGA and not even play? I've got to do that. I've just got to do it. I've got to do it. So I decided that morning, and then I go get this lesson with Nickel, and then play well. Then I play my gap match on Sunday, which you'll hear about at a different time. Mm-hmm. I make the drive to Liberty Hill. I shot 79 in the practice round, which I felt pretty good about actually at that course. Get out on the first tee. It felt more than last year when you were with me. It felt a little bit more like an event for some reason. Around the first tee, for whatever reason, there were a good number of people around the first tee. There were some spectators for other players. There was a decent crowd. And unlike last year, the guy kind of really announced my name from Westchester, Pennsylvania. Adam Shorey, hit away, he said. And so it's a kind of short par 4, one of the only ones on the course. I pulled it just into the left rough, and I had 130 yards, and it was a back tucked left pin. And these greens are huge. It's it's the only saving grace of this thing. They're protected by a bunker. And I'm just okay, put this thing in the middle of the green. You got to get this on the green, 2-putt, get a par. I hit it, and it's got a big draw on it, and I've overhooked it a little bit. Right at the pin behind this thing, stuffed it to 6.5 feet on one.
Ooh, okay.
So I've got a 6.5, 7 foot birdie putt, and I lipped out the birdie putt. So I could have started with a 3, but I make 4 on 2. 2 is the number 1 handicap on the course. It's just sort of a narrow, long par 4. So left is really bad. Right's bad if you go way up, but there's a little bit of room. So I just hit one. I crushed it. It just stayed right down the right side of the fairway, I thought, but it kind of kicked into the rough, and I thought I was going to be fine. But even with a good drive on this hole, it is driver 5-iron at least.
Mm.
It's a 474 yard, par 4. So maybe a great drive, it's a little less than that, but it's a lot.
That's stout.
So it just bounces 6 feet into the right rough. I get up there, and my path to the green is completely blocked out by a tree. Mm. And so I think through my options. I'm like, okay, am I trying to hit some massive cut here? What am I doing? And I'm like, take your medicine. So I take a 7-iron, I punch it under the tree, 80, 90 yards, give myself a 9-iron into the green. And I'm like, okay, this is good. Like, it's a huge green. Just get it onto the green. And I pull hook it into a bunker up against the face of the bunker on a downhill lie where I have to carry like 10 yards of bunker to a majorly elevated green.
Oh my gosh.
And so I take that. So I get into this shot. They had a beautiful practice there. I'd hit a bunch of bunker shots, was hitting them really well, but this was an obviously incredibly difficult bunker shot. And I catch all ball.
Oh.
And I blade it all the way across the green over like 15 yards of rough and into fescue. Oh. We find it. It's like in a little bird's nest. I chop it out of there. It gets like halfway to the green. Oh. And then I actually get up and down from a tough spot to make 7 on hole 2.
Wow.
I'm shaken at this point, obviously.
Yeah.
And that shakenness leads to a double on a reachable par 5 on hole 3.
Oh, that's not good.
So I'm suddenly 5 over through 3 and standing on a 225 yard par 3. And I'm just not feeling great. Obviously, I'm like, this was a mistake. I'm worried about the shank still. I hadn't been because I'd been hitting better. I'm like thinking I'm going to shank this, and I kind of pull hook the 5-iron. But I actually make an incredible up and down from back left, like a ridiculous approach pitch shot to get it within like 4 feet, make the putt, and make par.
Okay, look at you.
I hit a good drive that went into a fairway bunker on 5, and then hit one of the best sand shots I've ever hit in my life. It was like a 70 yard bunker shot, and I just clipped it perfect. It went in low, hit like 10 feet in front of the hole, took one big hop, and just bit like 10, 15 feet left of the hole. And I just left my birdie putt on the lip. On hole 6, so I'm 5 over through 5 at that point.
But 2 pars in a row.
2 pars in a row. I made a little bit of a mess of this hole again. I missed it left of the green. I chipped it back onto the fringe behind it, and I decided I was going to putt through like 10 yards of fringe because the fringe here and the fairways were so, short. I was like, it's fine. These greens are lightning, but I've been putting okay on them so far. I putt it, and it does not get through the fringe. So I left it in the fringe, still above the hole, and then 3-putt from above the hole to make 5. Lazy kind of bogey on 7. Not lazy. I missed a short. I hit a bad drive, good approach shot, great pitch to get it within like 4 feet, missed the 4-footer, make bogey. Bogey on 8. So I'm 9 over through 8 holes. And obviously not feeling too good about that. And I'm fully on 90 watch. I'm like, okay, we gotta make sure we don't get a letter here. We gotta make sure. we gotta be respectable here.
Did you see my Instagram video recently about the fringe hat, the new era golf hats, the one that says in big block letters it says fringe?
Oh, yes. What a terrible hat. What a terrible, terrible hat.
I didn't know when you left your putt in the fringe, were you maybe thinking, I wish I was wearing a fringe hat?
No, that's not the F word I wished I had on my hat, actually. Interestingly enough. On 9, a reachable but very dangerous par 5. So water all up the right and through the fairway, then a big pond covering the green. So I hit a good drive. I left myself 256 yards to the pin, and it was 230 to carry the water.
Okay.
And I flew my 2-iron about 240 directly into a greenside bunker. So I was happy with that shot. Carried the water, hit a good bunker shot. Once again, missed my birdie putt from like 12 feet maybe, tapped in for par. On 10, I hit my worst drive of the day, just a mile right, but no danger over there, but like over into the 18th green. And I get over there and I have rangefinder's useless. There is no way to figure out how far I am to the pin or really where it is. Like I'm running up, I'm trying to find, I'm like, I think those trees are it. And so I just pick some trees that I think are the pin, and I hit a 5-iron. Again, I'm just guessing. I'm like, about 200 yards. I don't know. It's a long hole. So I'm like just doing like, how far do I think that drive went?
Yeah.
I just hit one up at these trees. I pull it a little bit. It's going at some different trees. And then I get up there and it's like pin high right of the green. Just a miracle, just a miracle. Just a miracle. But left myself a very, very tough pitch and hit one of the best pitch shots of my life.
Whoa.
Down to like a foot and tapped it in for par.
Ooh. Okay.
So crazy par there. 11, hit a good drive, poor approach shot, but it was like a 5-iron, but 5-iron into a greenside bunker. Couldn't quite get it up and down. Tap in bogey.
Okay.
On 12, a 237-yard par 3. I hit a 4-iron pin high right, but like 35, 40 feet right of the pin, downhill, kind of above the hole. And I 3-putted that for bogey. Okay. So I'm now 11 over through 12.
Okay.
But I'm starting to hit things better at this point. I'm swinging freely at least. I hit a great drive on 13. I have 160 yards, just hit a beautiful 8-iron, pin high right, 2-putt for par on 13.
So let me get this straight. You started off not hitting the ball as great, but during the round, you started hitting it better.
Yeah. Yeah,
this is odd for you.
It's all I ever do, Brian. It's unbelievable. So not a disaster hole, I'll tell you up front, but such a weird moment. Another par 3. This par 3 is 204 yards. So the shortest par 3 on the course, 204 yards. And I hit a 5-iron, and I thought the wind was slightly into us. And there's this big punch bowl on the front half of the green, front third of the green maybe. And so like if you throw it into this hill, it is all going to funnel back in.
Yep.
And so I hit a 5-iron right to the perfect spot of the funnel, and it cleared the funnel by 1 foot. The ball mark was on the edge of this funnel and bounced up on top like 20 feet beyond it.
Oh.
And so I get up there and I'm like, there's not a chance in the world I am stopping this putt, right?
Is this like, you remember that 2-tier green at Pilgrim's Oak where the Torso match played? Is this on the back at Pilgrim's Oak? Is it similar to that, or do you not
It's
remember?
not that dramatic. It is not that dramatic, but it's still, it's a 5-foot high hill still.
Gotcha.
At the same time. Not quite like that. That one's one of the biggest I've ever seen. So I get up and I'm thinking, okay, the only chance is to stop this thing right on the edge. And I stopped it right on the edge, and it stopped on the edge. I left it on the top tier. And so then I'm like, oh, I'm screwed. And what was crazy was, so I tapped it as little as I could tap it to just get it to go down.
Yeah.
And it came up like 6 feet short.
Oh.
So I could have given it a little more. It wasn't quite as fast. It must have gone back up a little bit at the end, and I didn't realize it because it actually stopped. But I made the 6-footer for bogey. So a 3-putt bogey.
Okay.
Nothing to talk about. A sort of standard bogey on 15.
Yeah, you haven't broken out any cheap bourbon yet, so I feel like that's a good sign.
So I'm 13 over through 15 holes.
Okay.
Par
So
5.
par 70 or par 72?
Par 72.
Okay.
Par 5 16th is a 600-yard dogleg right par 5. I hit a pretty good drive, but I pulled it a little bit, and because of the dogleg right, it's like it already takes 2 ridiculous shots to get there, to even have a chance. So I'm laying up, and I dead chunk a 5-iron into a fairway bunker. And so I go hit it out of the fairway bunker to where I was trying to lay up with the 5-iron. And then I get up and down from 120 yards for par.
Wow. Okay.
It's like, all right.
You're grinding.
Hit an absolute gorgeous drive on 17. Best drive of the day by far. Just a long, beautiful cut. It felt so good. It was one of those. And I had 146 yards up to this back tucked pin. And I was like, you know what? Like, I think I'm hitting the ball well enough. I thought back to that range session where it's like when stuff started working, I could move the ball. And I said, you can hit a cut. This is a perfect cut 9-iron. And I started it exactly where I wanted to, faded it right at the pin, and stuffed it to a foot.
Ooh, let's go.
So tap in birdie on 17.
Yes.
Good drive on 18. Pulled my 2-iron trying to go for the green into some fescue. So there's water along the right of the green on 18. And it's a 2-tiered green left to right, so that it goes way down, and there's a layer kind of like almost on a peninsula into the water type feel.
Okay.
And so I hit it out of the fescue, hit it so perfect, trying to get it to that tier and just let it kind of funnel down into the peninsula area, and just like it did on that one par 3, stopped 6 inches at the most from the edge. I was hitting it from like 100 yards out, and it stopped 6 inches short. Or it would have been like 10 feet for birdie, which I had a tricky downhill putt and hit a really good one and tapped in for par on 18.
Okay.
So I shot 12 over 84.
45-39. I just pulled up your scorecard.
Yes.
Okay.
So again, obviously, so this round felt so similar to last year. It's almost an identical score. So I shot 83 last year. I shot 84 this year. You are not going to a U.S. Open qualifier to shoot 83, 84, right? That's not the point. And that is why I almost pulled out, because I felt like the chances of embarrassing myself were higher than they were of shooting what I needed to shoot. And I'm like, I shouldn't be doing that. But overall, given how I felt 2 weeks ago, 10 days ago, even 1 week ago, to go out, start again, these slow starts, I don't even know what to say anymore. I'm like, I just cannot. 45-39. It's like, okay, yeah, 239s would have been dead middle of the pack.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's just unreal. But I once again have the feeling of, okay, you played some really good golf in that back nine, actually. My ball striking was really good on the back nine. I had some 3 putts. I had, at least 2. So I had 4 bogeys and 1 birdie on the back. At least 2 of those bogeys were 3 putts. And the one on 15 was not a 3 putt, but I actually putted it from well off the green and couldn't. So it was basically those 3 of those 4 bogeys were basically 3 putts. And it's like, okay, it's not good, but I'm saying, but suddenly my ball striking was where it needed to be around par.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know. So it's crazy, but I'm glad I did it in the end. I finished 99th out of 112, I believe.
Okay.
So is that phenomenal? No. Is that a number I want to advertise anywhere? No. But at the same time, I'm glad that I went not feeling great and put up a number that's I don't feel embarrassed by it. I'll say that. Yeah. It's not an embarrassing number.
Yeah. No, you shouldn't be embarrassed by that. It's funny when I listened back to the episode after the Mid-Am qualifier when you were debating pulling out of this tournament, my advice to you was to do it. And as I listened back to that, as I was editing it, I was not happy with myself. I was like, because as a friend, I felt like I was giving you the right advice, whether I was or not, I don't know. But as a podcaster, as somebody trying to put together entertaining content, I was like, why did I tell him to not do this? And I was kind of bummed. And there was a part of me that was like, I hope he kind of does it anyway. And you never told me either way if you had actually done it or not. So I'm glad you did it too. Yeah, I'm glad you did it too.
Did we talk about it when we talked about the practice round? So what's crazy, I feel like if our goal, so if we were chasing scratch, say, right, and our goal was to become plus handicaps, okay, playing at a course like this is the way to do that if you can handle it at all. And so for someone like me who's like, I played with, two guys in the practice round and then two guys who played really well in the actual thing. I'm as long as any of them, of any of those four, at least. I'm sure there were players longer than me in the tournament. And so it's like getting around this course was not the issue. Other things were the issue. Ball striking was the issue. So 84 from those tees was a handicap differential of 6.5.
Wow.
So it's like that made me feel better when that got posted, and I'm like, oh, I shot a 6 handicap round that's not going to get you into a US Open. but I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like that's not ridiculous at all. And it's like, I know I could go around that course and on the right day with less pressure. I shot 79 in the practice round, first time I'd ever seen the course, and it was a handicap differential of 2.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I would shoot better than 7. An even par round there, which again, that's a big ask at that course, an even par round. But even par there is a +4 handicap differential.
Wow.
Which makes the 6 under that the medalist shot ridiculous for the record.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just think that's an interesting topic where it's like, because like we're at Honeybrook where it's like the course rating is 69.8 or whatever it is from the back tees. And so to become a plus handicap, you have to go shoot 3 or 4 under par a couple times.
Yeah.
Realistically, or be shooting in the high 60s a lot.
Yeah. And
it's like a place like this, if you can go shoot 2 over a few times a year, you're going to be a plus handicap. And it's like, that's wild to me.
You mentioned this to me last week. We had just a little bit of a discussion about it. It really did get me thinking. I was like, I think you're actually right. And I don't know if you saw this. Did you see Lou Stagner's tweet about this on Sunday?
I did not.
Okay. I have it pulled up here. It caught my attention immediately. And I don't know why I didn't send it to you, but it says, this is a cheat code to lower or raise, in parentheses, your handicap. Not too long ago, I had an interesting chat with my friend, Robbie, who's a community manager at Golfers Journal. He shared a hot topic from their community discussions. How do the tees you play from affect your handicapped index? It's common belief that moving back to a set of tees can help lower your handicap index. I've always been curious if there was truth to this, but never dived into the data until now. So to analyze this, he considered players who played at least 50 rounds in a year. He evaluated their 10 easiest rounds, lowest course rating, and 10 hardest rounds. And then he kind of gives more background to the data. The findings, and this is a little numbery, so it kind of takes a second to process, but 74% of players had a lower average score differential in their harder rounds. 58% improved their score by at least 1 shot in the harder rounds, and 40% by at least 2 shots. Conversely, 26% did better in easier rounds, but only 14% improved by at least 1 shot. If we were to calculate a handicap index based solely on the harder rounds, 69% of players would end up with a lower/better handicap.
Yeah.
So the data backs it up.
When I first got down under 5, it was when I was playing Applebrook from the back tees there with a bunch of caddies a lot. And I started shooting, I think I had like a 79 and an 80 and an 81. And suddenly I was like a 3 handicap. And I was like, whoa, because I had been like, I'd been like a 7 or an 8 before that. And it was like, but I'd been playing all these easy courses and I was still trying to, have found that I think the difference, like the 75% that benefit and the 25% that don't, I think it depends on length. So I am probably, even as a 1 handicap, I'm probably long for a 1 handicap.
Yeah,
I would say.
Yeah.
And it's like, so that means to me that like even a 7,600 yard course, I did not shoot 84 because of the length. Like I shot 84 for a bunch of reasons, but it wasn't just like I can't even get to these greens kind of thing. Everything was still driver iron. I still had driver wedge into some holes, and so I was hitting a lot of long irons into par threes, played fine on the par threes. Mm-hmm. It's just like I feel like if I got hot on a course like that, I could still shoot a few over par, and have that be a plus handicap differential. I think I would benefit hugely handicap wise from playing hard courses that I know.
Yeah, you nailed it. Hard courses that I know. I was just going to say, the first few times I played Lancaster Country Club, I was like, gosh, what would my handicap be around here? But now that I've played it a dozen times, the mystique is gone a little bit, and like I'm not intimidated by a lot of the shots. I still can put up a big number for sure, but now I think, no, if I played there all the time, like I would get used to a lot of it. And it is really interesting. I mean, I'm not trying to, I want my handicap to go down, but it's not one of my overt goals. But if it was, I honestly think I would be like, okay, I cannot be playing this many rounds at Honeybrook. Like I need to be more strategic about playing the back tees at courses that are rated harder and playing, like picking like 3 to 5 courses and playing those a bunch so I get comfortable with them and I'm able to put up some good differentials.
Yeah. We're at a playing level where it's like, yeah, okay, you play poorly at Honeybrook and everyone talks about Honeybrook being an easy course, but you can just give away shots. If you're not playing well, you're not playing well. So we'll go shoot. I shot 76 there last week, and it's like, okay, 76. I didn't feel like I played awful, but it was sloppy at the beginning, shocker, and gave away a bunch, and then shot like 1 over on the back, and it's like, yeah, but that's like a 7-something handicap differential. Right. And I'm like, okay, like, so you gotta play right now. When I play Honeybrook, if I go 2 over through 2, okay, which don't usually do there because of the holes that they are, but if you're 2 over early, I know that a score is not going to be counted at Honeybrook towards my handicap if it's worse than 71. I have to shoot 71 at Honeybrook for it to count at all.
Yeah.
For the 20 rounds I have in right now anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's just sort of like, okay, like those are good rounds still. I don't care. I don't care how easy Honeybrook is. 71 still feels like a good round.
Yeah, no, that's a really interesting point. And even just like for a 5 handicap or a 6 handicap, like I am, I'm not as long as you. I'm a club shorter, at least in irons, and, a good 30, 35 yards shorter off the tee. But I still think I'm probably longer than the average 5 handicap. That's interesting. I don't know if I'm going to do anything with it because I don't know that I'm really in the business right now of trying to grind the handicap down. But
if I was searching for a new club right now, it would be something I would factor in. Mm-hmm. If I had 4 or 5 options for clubs I was going to now play a bunch, I would love to, play at a course that is considered harder.
Switching gears a bit, we've got the first event in the Rum Swinga series, sponsored by Expert Tree Science and Service, coming up here in like a week and a half, the 2-man scramble at Overlook Golf Course. Have you ever played Overlook?
I have not. Have you?
Yeah, a dozen times.
Oh, okay, great. That's wonderful. Actually, I know nothing about it.
It's a muni. There's a lot of sort of back and forth holes. A lot of tree lined. Because the holes are back and forth, there's a lot of tree lined fairways. Yeah, not my favorite course for sure, but nothing fancy, nothing we can't conquer, Adam.
We can go shoot 62 there, right? We can shoot a 62 there.
I'm not one to put numbers out like that come back to bite you in the butt, but
I know we can shoot 62 in a scramble. I don't know that we're going to. I know we can. I think we have. I think we've done it before.
Yeah. That would be great to go out and shoot 62. A few days later, Adam and I teed off at Overlook Golf Course in the first event of the Rumswinga series presented by Expert Tree Service and Science. Did we have fun? Yes. Did we get rained on? Yes. Did we start off slower than we wanted to? Yes. But did we get hot? Oh yes, we did.
I mean, that's huge right there. 4 in a row around the turn. We did it soon enough. We could have done that at the end, but we did it now. We've given ourselves a third of the golf course to work with. Let's stay hot. Let's stay hot.
You'll get the full story of the Rumswinga 2-man scramble in episode 10. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Thanks so much for checking out the Bag Chatter podcast. Hope you enjoyed the episode, and you already know how to subscribe to podcasts, so I'm not going to waste your time. You can find us on all the socials at Bag Chatter Golf or Brian Lane Golf, and you can check out everything we have going on at bagchattergolf.com. If you want more content from me and Adam, check out the Bag Chatter Deli. That is our Patreon, where we only serve the choicest portions of 4-ball ham and the leanest cuts of bone meat. For $5 a month, you get to support the pod, and you get a weekly episode of our Friday supporter-only podcast, Cold Cuts, Hot Takes. You can find that at patreon.com/bagchattergolf. You guys are the best. Thanks so much for listening.